There you are, twirling, dancing specks of dust. You, my love, are trillions of cells, more great and more numerous than all of the stars in the galaxy. Inside these cells are chromosomes, the storybook that tells you how to function. The storybook determined your giggle, how you heal. It was the catalyst for your pretty blue eyes. I made you, but your storybook is different than mine. I have 46 chromosomes in every cell. You have 47. Doctors call it trisomy 21, Down syndrome. I call you mine. I call you Emily. All right, let's do an egg. Okay, we're gonna break this. I've been telling stories for over 15 years as a photojournalist. People have invited me into their homes and their lives as they've shared some of the most intimate details with me. My name is Christina Ryan. The story that I'm telling now is the hardest one for me to tell. It touches me very deeply as I live it every day. This is my story of Emily. Our lives have been a series of moments strung together by photographs. I have 2 daughters, Emily and Lorson. I've been a single mom for a long time. I have my own company as a photographer, and I've had a lot of great clients. There have been music festivals, school picture days, wild hairdos, selfies, trips to the beach, finding the perfect grade 8 grad dress, and meeting Ron. It's like he's been with us forever, you know, instead of the year that we've known him. Despite the many happy moments, there have been battles, both large and small. Emily was born 17 years ago. She has Down syndrome, a genetic condition caused during development, plus an unexplainable underlying neurological condition that robs her of her independence. Over the years, I've waged a near constant fight for equality and fairness for my daughter. And in the process, I've met countless others deep in their own battles for the little ones with disabilities. So this is our story. The story of teachers, parents, practitioners, kids, animals, and artists who are working to make life better for children with special needs. We'll start near the beginning, Emily Follansbee School. I remember when I first got the letter for Emily, I was pretty shocked. For some reason, I had always thought, and I was an advocate for Emily to go into just a normal school where she might need an aid. So her being accepted at Emily Follansbee kind of dashed my dreams and made me realize that, you know, I was still grieving over certain processes in my daughter's life. So I went to the school and checked it out. And at first I was really, really shocked at the amount of children that I saw with so many medical needs. I think I cried when I left.
In the back of my head, I always wanted to work at this school. And things just kind of came together in kind of a funny way, and this opportunity came and I took it. For me, I think my relationship with the students is like the most important thing. It's way more important than whatever kind of information or skills I try to bring in, because if you don't have that bond with them, the learning is not nearly what it can be if you have a relationship with them. You know, I've built some really good relationships hanging out with some kids at the pool. You know, you have some fun with them, and then they'll come back and they'll do something that you ask them to do that they maybe a month or 2 wouldn't have done for you. So the relationship is everything.
You can have kids that you don't really get a reaction from them until you put them in the sensory room, and all of a sudden they're like looking around and aware. You know, they start vocalizing where you haven't seen that before. So whatever works to make the child react and experience their environment, that's what you need to do.
Jen, who is on that platform, Jen knows what she wants, I'll tell you. And we're fortunate being right across the hall, because she often will finish her lunch and she just crawls over there and gets up there, and we put on the lights for her and turn on a video, and she is so happy in there. And sometimes she'll go in there specifically to get away from other kids. So if they're kind of in her face, a bit too close to her and stuff, she's like, I'm out of here. For Nick, who was on the vibrating platform, he doesn't see. So the lights are not really, they don't mean anything to him. So he can get this movement sensation and listen to music or can have a chat with him. He seems quite happy there. One girl in particular, she loves the mirror because she's a teenage girl and it's just very fascinating for her to look at herself. She can spend a lot of time.
I think it's making them aware of maybe themselves or their environment, to take chances where they wouldn't before, to reach out and touch something where they may not have done that before, or if they're really tense child, that kind of sometimes relaxes. Maybe that's the first time they actually really just laid there and looked at the bubble tube or touched the fiber optics or whatever, where they're actually just relaxed. You kind of just go on what that child needs, right? Which is the most important thing. That's amazing to be able to go and say, maybe this child just needs me to sit and hold them all day, or they just need a hug, or they need whatever. Yeah, it's a good environment to be in, where you feel appreciated.
How do you find the energy to do what you do every year?
Do it every year? I think when you can't do that, then you should find a different job, because it can be really wearing on you. And I just think I need to be as positive and upbeat for these children as I need to be, right? That is just what you need to do. You need to be the best you can be, always, for these children. And not being saying that there are not days that are hard and you go, like, why am I doing this when, you've been pooped on and thrown up on and whatever, and you're like, really? But then the next day, somebody does something amazing and it's all gone.
So what's our song about today, Dylan? What's our song going to be about today?
Mermaids.
Mermaids. Awesome.
Dylan is 16. Hardest question. Did you hear that? Sweet 16. Yeah, just turned 16. He is probably the most amazing musician I've ever heard. He's an interesting guy. He's funny. He's quirky. He loves the ladies.
What is your full name?
Dylan Fergus Cameron Whitley.
Tell me what your favorite thing to do is.
Have Timbits, of course. I had my first Timbit when I was 5 years old. Just 5.
And do you remember that?
Yep. I have a memory like an elephant.
He is autistic and completely blind. He has a diagnosis called septo-optic dysplasia, and he was born with that. It's something that happens in the first trimester of pregnancy. Because he's blind, we bought him a lot of musical toys when he was younger. He got for Christmas a tiny little piano with, you want to sit with me? Come here. It was just a little keyboard, and it had a row of sound effects. And at 3, he started playing the ABCs, was the first thing. He would listen to a piece of music, and he would play it. And he has that ability. He can listen to a song and he can sing it in the same key, and he can also just listen to pieces of music and repeat it. It's pretty incredible.
He's an extraordinary musician, and he has this capacity to write music, to hear tunes and repeat tunes very quickly without having to really sit down and learn them. Music is just part of his being. Music and music therapy is just something that has been a huge part of his life for many, many, many years. He's been a long-term client of JV Music Therapy, and it is something that has given him purpose, and then also allowed his family to see him successful at something.
Music is where Dylan shines. It's where he is the best of the best, and he has learned through JV Music about expressing his feelings through music.
How do you compose? Do you think of thoughts? Do you think of words? Does the music come first?
The music comes first. Like when I'm composing stuff, like on a keyboard, like on the computer, it's like all sense of time just vanishes.
You lose yourself in the music.
Yep. Until it's like, boom. It's been like 5 minutes into the song. So you kind of like go space out for a second, and then boom, you're like wide awake.
And how does it feel when you have an actual song done and you can play it for others?
Exhilarating. That's a big one.
Are we going to the 5:10 now or later?
Music as a therapy works because it connects on a physiological level and also creates emotional triggers and cognitive triggers for us. So on a physical level, music that we like can increase the release of dopamine and serotonin, which are happy, good feeling hormones, and then that just makes us feel better. It motivates us, it creates more structure, more satisfaction in our lives, and we can do more with that. We have this tool, we have this medium, we have this drug, if you will, that can instantly change how we feel, and it's really inexpensive in some ways.
Well, having the diagnosis, it makes everything easier because then you understand why he's doing certain things. When you look up the diagnosis septo-optic dysplasia, a lot of the children that have it have an amazing musical ability. It's just like their brain is wired that way. Because the musical ability was always there. You know, it was there when he was teeny. And the autism came later, and that explained a lot of the behaviors because Dylan had, you know, he had a lot of sensory issues. He couldn't deal with a lot of excess noise and even things on the TV, like applause on the TV, would just send him off. And the poor kid spent more time banging his head on the floor and crying. But the music was always there, and that's what he always did. So maybe in a way, that's what he chose to calm and settle himself with.
So you're at Whispering Equine, and we are a private farm, but I get to run the equine facilitated wellness business out of it. The majority of my clients, I would say, is more mental illness type things. Anxiety, depression is huge. Physical, sexual abuse, physical disabilities, anything like that can be helpful by spending time with horses and learning more about them and the connections that can kind of come from that. So my aunt and uncle own the property, and they have a cerebral palsy and multiple disability girl, so she's my cousin. And when she was younger, she participated in therapeutic riding programs for part of her healing and physical therapy type of thing, and always loved horses. She's 38 years old now.
Well, I guess we first got involved with horses was for Jenny, as far as handicapped riding, and she always enjoyed that, Jenny being multi-handicapped. But she really enjoys the horses, loves being around them, and our horses are very gentle. And to see them with handicapped children is really something, yeah.
So when I started on my journey, I talked to my uncle about leaving my teaching career and moving into something with horses and healing people, and he was really supportive in that and essentially built our facility to offer a place for people to come and heal. Oh my God, I'm getting choked up. A place to come and work through like some of their stuff, whether it's the mental illness or their physical disability work and things like that, and kind of designed it around my business, but also with my cousin in mind as well. So my cousin, she doesn't live here full-time, but she loves to come around, and she doesn't speak, so she just does sign language and sort of her body language and stuff like that, but she'll always sign horses and stuff like that, so it's good.
Well, they just don't judge. They're just so honest with that person, and if they like you and they walk up to you and they want to be with you, they don't care whether you don't walk very well, whether you can't hear like Jenny or speak. It's just that closeness they have and the connection the people have with the horse.
Like a lot of people, like even like having a horse come up and touch you on your face or following you around is just to be loved by an animal. Yeah, see, I get choked up. Loved by another creature that's choosing to be with you. So definitely feel like it's part of my life purpose.
Imagine being strapped into a wheelchair all day and not being able to move yourself. You hurt and you want to move. Imagine every day, 7 days a week in that position. Now you're put in the water, and even just a slight roll of the spine or a roll of the shoulder or an arching of the back can feel like a really big movement, and it can feel very good. I started my journey into alternative therapies in 1999, and through that journey really came to realize I wanted to help children that were bound by disabilities that they had no choice in. And so I had heard about this yoga therapy that could be done in the water. And so I went off to Florida to take the initial training and started volunteering here just as an extra body in the pool at Emily Follensby. I spent about 9 hours a week volunteering my time to hold these kids in my arms, to see if it was something that could fly in Calgary. And I fell in love. I fell in love with these children. I fell in love with their spirit.
Can you tell me a little bit about what we saw today in the pool with Emma?
Emma is a water angel. She is just a delight. In the water, I'm able to dance with her.
It's 1 hour a week when Emma is totally relaxed. She's not fighting with her body. She's not frustrated. She's relaxed, she's happy, she's having fun. And Tanya can get her to do stuff in the water that I could never do, just even when we're in the swimming pool together, because I don't know the therapeutic side of it, the massage and so on. She loves swimming, but with me, she's still kind of fighting because she's worried she's gonna fall in the water. But with Tanya, she's relaxed. She just gazes up at her and has a good time, don't you?
My heart is with these kids. They've got a lot on their plates, and they get a lot of judgment from people, and people they don't know what to do. They're afraid that if they hold them and touch them that they're going to break them. And I know that's not the case. I couldn't have children of my own, and so I had to redefine mom. I had to redefine what that was for me. And when I hold these kids and know that I'm making 1 hour difference in their life a week, it was a way that I could fulfill that maternal instinct, that side, that need in me. It's massage, and it's being held and rocked and sung to and played with and just nurtured from beginning to end. And it seems to me every child should be granted that, whether they're disabled or not.
Emma has Rett syndrome. It's a neurological disorder. There's many different kinds of genetic deletions or issues that cause Rett syndrome. She has the MECP2 chromosomal problem. And what most people don't understand about Rett syndrome is that there's nothing wrong with Emma's mind. She's a smart little girl. She's in a body that won't cooperate. The connections aren't there.
With Rett syndrome, there's fairly typical development for a year and a half, and then there's regression. And she regressed, and it was very difficult to watch because you didn't know what was happening. We used to do different things, and like one of the things we used to do is play ball. I would bounce it to her and she would catch it and she would bounce it back. And then after a while she couldn't catch it, then after a while she wouldn't move her hands, then after a while she wouldn't look at it.
Emma was starting to say words, like she would say ham and mum, and then she lost that. She could use her hands, then one day she stopped picking up her toys. And she wasn't interested in her toys. She would sit and stare at the ground. She wasn't interested in people or anything.
She just sat with her head down, and all of a sudden it was like a tap slowly being turned off. You could just see things, you know, her abilities just kind of going away and shrinking. Not overnight, but gradually shrinking. It's something you wouldn't wish on anybody. It's because you just don't know what's going on, and you're so happy you've got this healthy little girl, and then all of a sudden things start to go sideways, and some of it fairly quickly, and it's terrifying. She has her limitations that were set for her, and we're trying to do the best we can within those limitations, and she is as well. Most of the therapy she's involved with have an element of trying to make something better, communication, her physical abilities, her health. So that is great right off the bat, just trying to make things better for her.
And she practices walking. She can walk with assistance. She's built up her muscles a lot. She's very, very strong.
She's a very hard worker. All of her teachers and therapists always mention that she works hard and she keeps trying to get better, to walk better, to get stronger, to become more independent. And you just see that she doesn't let things get her down. Compared to a lot of people, she has a reason to be unhappy, but she's not. She's very happy and works very hard. And we're very proud of her.
We do burnout though, because it's a lot of work. Emotionally, I think we've adapted, we've adjusted. We don't dwell on that anymore because it is what it is. We just accepted our family is what it is, and we love it. But physically, it's exhausting.
As she gets bigger, some things get more challenging. But generally, I think things are getting easier. And I think Noah, he's getting older and he's understanding her better. And he's a good little guy and he wants to be helpful and wants to be part of things. So
it is a very special relationship. Like I said at the start, it's very fun to have a sister like Emma. It's very special.
A frightsome trouble, Humphrey cried. This is a bad dream. It is worse than a bad dream. It is a nightmare. Oh dear, Sophie said.
It's a balancing act, making sure that Noah gets enough attention while Emma gets everything that she needs. And he understands that. He's grown to be quite independent, even though he's only 8 years old. And we're lucky because he's very bright. I know I'm biased, but he is very bright and he understands that he can't have as much attention as Emma needs. And he loves Emma. He rides up on her, lift up the stairs with her to bed, and he started reading the Harry Potter books to her. So he crawls into bed with her, and first, before he wants her to settle down so he can read to her, so he shakes and tickles her to get her giggles out. And then he lies there and reads Harry Potter while she continues to giggle and laugh at him. He loves it when Emma comes along.
A picture of Sophie looking at the jar with the troggle lumper in it.
But generally, the challenges I think are the same as any family with a child with a disability faces. Getting her around and her schedule and taking care of things, and with her not able to talk, if she's upset, you don't know why. If she's sick, you don't know what's really bugging her. Is it her throat, or does she have a headache, or her stomach upset? Challenges like that you face on a fairly consistent basis, just not knowing what's going on with her. Those are the main ones, I would say. I'm probably not telling anything new to you.
I know, but a lot of other people don't. People especially don't know what it's like to watch your child lose their skills. I remember Emily used to be able to crawl.
Oh, yeah.
She'd push a bag of lemons and do laps all around the house.
Oh, yeah.
I really miss those days.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And then she said my name once.
Did you? Yeah, Emma said my name once.
Really?
At preschool, yeah, when she was probably around 4. I walked in the door and she said, "Hi, Daddy." And that was, the teachers were going crazy, and then it was just one time, so.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
You have to hang on to that.
Yeah.
Did she get to say anyone else's name?
Well, it's funny. The reason that Noah is named Noah is because of Emma. When she was very young, she's always made noises, and when Pam was pregnant, the noise she used to always goes no, and she just did it all the time. So that's why we named him that, so she could say it.
When she was younger, she would say, when she found out that I was going to be born, she would say Noah, so that's kind of why I'm named Noah. And then after I was born and named, she stopped because she was like, okay, I've named him and now my job is done.
Emma is just the way she is. We don't think of Emma as disabled or Emma having Rett syndrome. Emma is Emma. We don't focus on the symptoms. We just focus on her abilities, what she can do, because she enjoys so much.
So Emily has a BiPAP machine that breathes for her. And in the mornings, I'll take the machine off. And she greets me every morning with the biggest smile. It's like a celebration of every new day. It's beautiful. And so I'll get her ready for school. I'll change her, I'll put her pants on, and then we hug for a good 5 minutes, and it's the best hugs ever. It's like she was asleep for like 50 years and she just woke up, and now she needs all this reassurance and this love, and she just puts her arms really tight around you, and I've never felt such good hugs before. They're incredible. And then I'll roll her out into here and feed her and make her lunch and get her ready, and off to school she goes.
Loves his Timbits. Likes to do his music. He likes to go swimming. He loves to bicycle. We have this amazing tandem bicycle.
She loves music, she loves swimming, she loves the outdoors, she loves socializing, she loves being around people, and she's the happiest kid I've ever met.
I realize how lucky I am to have it, and sometimes I think maybe I don't come across as like, wow, can you believe this? My kid can play Mozart. But I get to listen to it every day, and it's the most wonderful thing. It's just there, it's part of our world.
I don't want to sugarcoat it. Sometimes I will silently plead that nothing else be taken away from the little person who's already had so much taken away from her. But more often they're tears of joy for the beautiful girl my daughter has grown into and all the things she has achieved, the opportunities to reach her potential, and the joy she brings to those around her. And while Emily's medical conditions are always at the forefront, it's not really who defines her. She defines herself by the friends she surrounds herself with, living her life to the fullest, and sharing the beauty that she sees every day with others. She teaches me patience, and I'm always amazed how a child that is nonverbal can portray herself as sassy and strong with a wicked sense of humor. So because Emily Follansbee is so medically fragile, a lot of the children have large medical hurdles to overcome, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't make it. Over the years, I've seen quite a few of them pass along. And I think that's heart-wrenching because you always wonder when your child is next. Or if that's in the cards. It's another reason why I think the staff at Emily Follansbee are so amazing, because they grieve for these kids like they're their own, and yet they still come back. Instead of guarding their hearts, they give all that they have to the kids that they still have every single year.
You know, there was one little guy that had this the most amazing day on Friday, and Saturday morning he just didn't wake up. And that one really bothered me, because one day they're here and the next day they're not. And some of them, because you haven't worked with them, it's sad, but you kind of just deal with it, right? Some hit you hard and you just, you think about them every day. And I just think, you know, the one little homeschool girl I worked with for a whole year, so I went to her house 4 days a week, every afternoon. So you get pretty close to, you think, like, she's not suffering anymore. She's walking, she's talking, she's in heaven. And that's what I think. And she has a new life. And that's what gives me comfort or peace of mind that she's in a better place. If it's hard for us as staff, I can't imagine as parents how much harder it is. But they're just blessings, and you just take it one day at a time, and you grieve and carry on, because there's other children that need you.
She's losing the ability to eat and drink without choking. So she needs to have an operation where they put a tube into her stomach, and then she's fed through a machine. So it bypasses your upper airway passages. To me right now, that's another big challenge that we have to face, because that means I'm taking more quality of life away from her, where her favorite thing to do is savor wonderful foods. And with a G-tube, you can't do that per se. And it's another medical procedure when she's had so many that you wish that she didn't have to endure. It's funny because when you're in a situation and you feel just sad or heartbroken, you always feel like that's the biggest challenge that you've met to that day. And then you get through it and you come out stronger and you're like, oh, that was nothing. And then something else comes along on the horizon and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm facing another huge challenge, and you get through that. And there's been so many, but then you get through them and you feel like that you're okay, you survived another day.
I would just like them to treat Emma like they would any other child. Don't stare at them. Generally, you don't stare at a little baby or a child. You look at them and you smile and you say hi. That's all you need to do. You know, we don't expect people to do therapy with her or to find some kind of deep-rooted cure or something. Just say hi to her and smile, and just say, you look nice today, or are you having fun? Or just treat her like they would any other child. That's all you want. Nothing special.
When kids stare, that's absolutely fine, because kids are kids. They don't mean it maliciously. And actually, I'd really like it if they just come up and say, hey, why is your daughter like that? Why is she in a chair? And then I would be like, she's in a chair because, and that would be perfectly fine. The part that I don't like is when the adults stare, because I think we all know subconsciously there's a 3-second rule for staring. You can stare for 3 seconds and it's no longer acceptable. If you're really that curious, come over and ask. I would love for you to come over and say, hey, how's it going? Talk to my daughter. Tell her how beautiful she looks, or she has cool eyes, or ask her how her day was. Ask me a question. That would be perfectly fine. But Emily hates it because she'll try to hide. And making my child hide from you is not acceptable.
Sometimes people say to me, and I hate it when people say, oh, you must be a very special person to work with those children. Seriously, you should come in here. These kids are not unhappy. They're happy. And this is a happy place, and all you have to do is walk in the door and you can see that. The kids are loved, but challenged, like not mollycoddled. We want them to do stuff, and they're here to learn, and they're here to have fun, and they're here to be well taken care of and loved. And I think they get all that here.
They're your job. Your job is to be the best for these kids, right? If you aren't learning and growing from these kids, then you're missing the boat. I think consistency and just being, not giving up on them. And even if it takes 10 years for them to make that first step, not to give up on them. If it takes 10 years, it takes 10 years.
The responses can take a little bit of time to happen. And so space needs to be there, patience needs to be there, and just an opportunity to allow the client to respond how they want to. A client might take a while to reach out and touch a drum, but it's amazing to see the effort that Emily or another child makes just to hit that drum just once, even within like a 10-minute period. There's a lot of motivation motivation, it takes focus on the part of that child. It takes that patience and that space to be able to allow them to have that voice.
So one of the exercises we do is they get to paint on the horses, and it was at the end of the one program workshop we were working on, and they have to create some sort of artistic thing on the horse that's representative of what the experience was for them. The one little girl came out, and she's kind of like, if you looked at her, she was sort of like the pink hair and sort of alternative looking, that a lot of people in society would like judge her as like a bad kid or whatever just by what she looks like. And what she drew on there was a picture of a broken heart, and then a horse, and a picture of another human, and then the full heart. So what they do is they paint the painting, then they present to the group of what their painting is. And she said that she had a broken heart before, and that she came, and the time she spent with the horses made her feel whole, and that she just about didn't come the last day because she was having some problems at home before that morning, and that she was so glad she came because she said, I was so upset that when she came and spent time with the horses that she was able to sort of release all that anger and frustration that she was having from the problems with her family at home.
What makes you the happiest?
Traffic report jingles. That's what gives me the most energy.
Where do you see Dylan in the future?
Oh, I think he'll write radio jingles. He would like to be a DJ, but I truly think he'll write radio jingles.
Short of some type of treatment that, you know, they're constantly working on trying to find ways to get around it a little bit. Our main hope for her is some communication ability. As she gets older and as we get older, we won't be able to look after her as much. So you want her to be able to have people understand her needs and her wants.
I think my biggest wish for Emily, my biggest hope is that she remains happy. And she's not shuttled off to some corner somewhere, that if I'm ever not around, that people will see the specialness in her, and that they'll take the time to make sure that she always, always shines. Yeah.
All these therapies just bring out that specialness out of Emma. Like when Emma has music therapy or Emma has Watsu, those are her extracurricular activities. She can't play soccer, she can't play baseball, she can't go to swimming lessons, but she can do all these things. And while she's working hard and having therapy, she's having the time of her life.
You know, she can move the way we all move rather than just being, you know, having trouble with mobility, you know, on the ground. So yeah, for me it's a real joy.
I wish I could have JB music twice a week. I really do. I just think it's so important. And he just grows so much with it, and there's no limitations. I mean, that's really what it's all about when he's playing music. There's no limitations. He's just amazing. And other people are in awe. And it's pretty wonderful to see, you know.
You know, it's funny. People will come to my house, caregivers from, you know, an organization, and I'll come back and I'll look at Emily and her nails will be completely done. And I'll be like, why did you do that? And they're like, she's so girly girl, she loved it. And I was like, really? I had no idea. So you learn about your own child through different events that happen. And the therapy is just like that. It's completely amazing. JB Music was an eye-opener. I had no idea that such a tiny little body contained this huge musical soul. And she rocks out and she loves it, and she expresses herself and she sings and she demands different instruments. And for her, that is so huge. And so I get to share in that. And I get to know that my daughter's good at something. She has talent. And if it wasn't for therapies, if it wasn't for, you know, the Watsu, seeing her dance, if it wasn't for the music to give her a voice, then I wouldn't have the girl that I know today.